Hugh has been basically building products online for a couple of decades now. He founded multiple startups before joining Facebook, where he led their efforts in building out their platform all across Europe. And Hugh now works as a Senior Product Manager at Intercom. I'm really looking forward to this talk. It's titled, and I'm not joking here, What Software Companies Can Learn from Shopping Centers.
That's it. Thank you, Emmett. So I'm going to start with a story. And the story begins in 1950 in Minneapolis, Minnesota, obviously in the United States, when 5 men sat around a conference room table with the aim of building a plan for the future. And the 5 were brothers, and each had inherited an equal share of the family business. Dayton's, it was a small department store chain, and it was set up in 1902. So Dayton's was small, it was local, it was traditional, even their advertising was pretty low-key and uninspiring. Check out their first print ad from 1903. It's arguably got the worst ever call to action I've ever seen. Tonight, Goodfellows. Monday, Dayton's, formerly Goodfellows. What the fuck are you supposed to do with that? It's a really good example of just how small their thinking was. But the 5 brothers had big ambitions. They wanted to build a business that had a footprint across America and potentially actually across the world. But they had a problem. And the problem was Sears. So at the time, Sears were like the incumbent. They were 40 times the size of Dayton's. They had a huge footprint across America, and they were a household brand name. So they were a pretty intimidating opponent, but the brothers decided to go for it. So they hashed out a 4-point plan to compete with Sears. And one of the points in that plan was an ambition to expand beyond their existing downtown locations into suburbia, where more of their customers were spending more of their time. So at around the same time, this fella, an Austrian called Victor Gruen, was thinking deeply about the same problem. He was thinking deeply about the challenge of suburbia, but from a really different angle. Victor was Jewish. He came to the US from Austria in 1938, and he embedded himself in American life pretty quickly, and he liked it, but he didn't love it. And the biggest problem was suburbia, or as he called it, the suburban labyrinth. And it's kind of unusual. It frustrated him so much that he actually mapped it out. And he just hated how cars and motorcycles and motorways had broken up the day-to-day lives of modern people. Suburbia was disconnected, and it was impersonal. And he missed the enclosed but yet airy arcades of Europe. He felt suburban America was missing what Ray Oldenburg later called the third place, a place for people to connect and transact. So he designed a solution. And it was this. It's what he called the multifunctional center, with all the services and stores that people might need. It'd be the new place for them to connect and transact. It would be climate controlled. It would be protected from the elements. So the Dayton family heard about Victor, reached out to him, and they formed a partnership. So Victor set about designing the solution to his problems and Dayton's problems and America's problems in his view. So in 1956, together they launched the Southdale Center in Edina, Minnesota. And it was the first fully enclosed, climate-controlled shopping center in history. And it defined how shopping centers are designed and built today. And it was an overnight success. Dayton's sales rose 60% pretty much overnight. And the other stores in the mall, or the shopping center as we call it, they flourished as well. And it was the start of something way, way bigger. So today, Dayton's has evolved to become Target Corporation. It's a household name across America and across the world. So the battle with Sears had a clear winner. And Target today is a $40 billion business. It's huge. And Sears, by comparison, is worth a pretty paltry $1.5 billion. And Target's logo is recognized by 96% of people in the US. pretty amazing. So 2004 was the year that Target last iterated on their logo, the bullseye. It was also the first time a young man came into our lives. Mark Zuckerberg. There he is having a casual lean against a wall that's blue. He's just so chilled out. So Mark started a little college website called thefacebook.com. It was an experiment. It was a side project. And he just wanted to connect college students on campus. We probably know why. It was super simple. It was super local. It was still even a Mark Zuckerberg production. Pretty cool. But he soon realized that he was onto something bigger. Engagement was off the charts. Students were spending hours and hours of every single day on Facebook. So he was onto something, and he figured, okay, let's scale this thing globally. But like Dayton's, Zuck had a problem of his own, and it was these guys, MySpace. So at the time, they were the incumbent, they were the big boys. That's how MySpace looked in 2006. Had a little bit of everything, blogs, videos, music, classifieds, all that kind of stuff. And it was like the self-proclaimed place for friends. That's a big, bold claim. But it was fair, because it was wildly popular. In 2006, 12% of all US time spent online was on MySpace. And Facebook, by comparison, had a mere 1%. MySpace were winning, but Zuck wanted to compete with them anyway. So in 2006, whether it was over a conference table or something else, Zuck and his team hatched together a plan to beat MySpace. So just to give you an idea of the state of Facebook at the time, let's take a little look at an office meeting with co-founder Dustin Moskovitz and probably some of his direct reports from around that time. There they are having a meeting, gathering. Oh. Chugging beer. There we go. Done. Awesome. You're like, did I just see Dustin Moskovitz shotgunning a keg of beer whilst doing a handstand? Yes, you did. That man today is worth $10 billion. Some kind of weird life lesson in there. I don't know what it is. Anyway, Facebook put a plan together, and in 2007, at the very first F8 conference, they launched Facebook Platform. They offered deep integrations, mass distribution, and a whole new opportunity to developers across the world. And it worked. Pretty much less than 2 years later, the game is totally up for MySpace. Facebook's growth accelerated, and their trajectory changed basically forever. MySpace all but died. And this graph doesn't even go all the way to today. It stops in 2011. And Facebook have obviously grown way more since then. They're now basically a technology powerhouse. They're a family of apps, including WhatsApp, Instagram, and Oculus. It's worth over $330 billion. It's pretty huge. And just compare that to MySpace, who at their peak were worth about $12 billion. So two really different stories, two different companies, both operating at really, really different times. But they're actually really, really similar. And there's a lot to learn from both. So for a start, both changed their businesses from being product-focused businesses where they served one type of consumer to become platforms where they served many different types of consumers at once. And it's really interesting to look at a sketch from a book that Victor Gruen wrote a few years ago, many years ago. Basically, when he was designing shopping centers, he didn't just focus on the storefronts that customers walked through. He actually designed the layer of services which enable the stores to operate, the layer which other value was created on in the layer above. And he actually used the word platform to describe it. And don't forget, this was in the 1950s when platform in the technology context wasn't even a thing. And obviously, Facebook did the exact same thing. They launched platform. They opened up their layer of services to developers. Many developers built a lot of value on top of them. A lot of consumers were happy. It was a true platform play. But obviously, platforms, there's a lot of reasons why they succeed and why they don't. They succeed when they're truly open. So the Victor Gruen take on this was, weirdly enough, of being open was parking. So he actually spent a lot of time designing how cars parked. And the parking was free, as was Facebook. So whilst many social networks were charging upfront for access, Facebook, it was free for anyone to join. And it was actually free for developers too. The only tax for developers was their time. They didn't have to pay for API access or SDKs or any of that kind of stuff. And both focused on this idea of anchor tenants. Dayton's partnered up with Donaldson's, Woolworths, companies like that, Red Owl, when they moved into new markets across America. Local brand names they knew would bring audiences and loyalty into their stores and into their malls. And Facebook did the exact same thing when they launched Facebook Platform. They didn't just launch it alone, they launched it with Amazon, Washington Post, Microsoft, huge, big, well-known technology companies. And each of them brought customers and content and loyalty, and they helped Facebook expand their reach across the globe. And they also focused on driving discovery. They knew there was no point in helping to build this value if people couldn't discover it. Contextual discovery, that experience of discovering the right thing at the right time, doesn't happen by accident. It's actually well-planned serendipity. So when designing shopping centers for Dayton's, Victor Gruen designed from the inside out. He didn't stop at designing car parks and the mall itself. He actually designed the entire experience of getting there. He spent a lot of time sketching urban transport maps, trying to plan all that out, planning ways to bring customers close to the stores. And Facebook's version of this was Open Graph. So Open Graph provided a way for developers to define the types of content they were interacting with, or that users would interact with, and they wanted to use that to drive people to the right content at the right time. They wanted people to find the relevant friends, groups, all that kind of stuff really quickly and easily. And the similarity of thinking is uncanny. So on the left is a sketch from Victor Gruen, another urban transport map. You just love drawing them. Awesome way to spend your time. And the right-hand side is actually F8's logo from a couple of years back. They actually look really similar. So designing friend connections isn't actually all that different from designing urban transport routes. Dayton's and Facebook, similar traits, similar stories. So back to the title of the talk. What can software companies learn from shopping centers? And a couple of really simple things. First of all, platforms aren't about technology. Platforms in the world of software are actually micro-representations of the real world. They're actually microeconomies. Ecosystems and developer ecosystems are actually economies and developer economies. And economies are powered by people. So when designing platforms or designing a product for a platform, design experiences around people and behavior, not in isolation. And of course, make sure the platform you're building or the platform you want to integrate with is truly open. If you look at companies with freemium models and all those kind of things, there's a massive distinction between those and enterprise buy before you try software companies. So consider this when building a platform or integrating with one. And of course, successful platforms fuel contextual discovery. Like the job isn't done when platforms are designed or when products are designed for platforms. Customers have specific needs that these niche products can meet, and developers want to make money from what they've built, obviously. So focus deeply on discovery and focus on the platforms if you're integrating one that really think about this a lot. And platform equals partners. If you're building a platform, know your roadmap, know what you're never going to build, and offer that opportunity up to developers. If you're choosing a platform to integrate with, consider how complementary your product is to that platform. Platforms never succeed without great partners. Software platforms aren't complicated. They work exactly the same way as the real world. So if you want to see how they work, go to your local shopping center, grab a coffee, and observe. You never know what you might learn. Thanks for listening.